If you want to learn how to play Cupid, you are in the right spot. In today's video, I am going to be going over everything you need to know about the god of love. What is going on? I'm KittenOfDoom and welcome to another video. If this is your first time here and you want to learn how to play Smite, learn about certain gods, as well as some tips and tricks, then stay tuned. If you find this video helpful and want to see more like it, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss anything. I also live stream on Twitch, and if you want to check it out, the link is below. Smite classifies Cupid as a Roman hunter. His difficulty is also set to easy, so he is pretty beginner friendly. Some pros about Cupid is that he is a good chaser, has high attack speed naturally due to his third ability's passive, can heal teammates, has great crowd control, has a large radius ultimate. His ultimate is a really great threat if used properly. He has high sustain and is a team player. And as for cons on Cupid, his ultimate's mesmerize effect will be broken if any target is damaged. His wave clear isn't that great early game, and he only has 2 damaging abilities. Alright, and now that we're in jungle practice, we can go over his abilities. Cupid's passive is called Love Struck, and every hit with a basic attack gives Cupid a heart stack that increases the damage or healing of his abilities. Heart Bomb and Fields of Love will always consume heart stacks at 8 stacks, and they will have additional effects. And that leads us to his first ability, which is called Heart Bomb. And Cupid fires an arrow of love at a target, causing damage when it hits and slowing them. After a short time, the target's heart explodes, dealing damage again to the target and all enemies within the radius. If Cupid has max heart stacks, then all enemies in the explosion area are stunned for 1 second. Minions take 50% increased damage from the Heart Bomb. And just showing off Heart Bomb right now, it's just a line targeter, and as soon as you hit it, it starts ticking, and then it explodes again. And as for the passive, you can see there are 8 hearts. Every time you hit a basic attack, it fills up his passive meter. And once he fills it up, he has this little heart that goes around him. And that's when you will have the additional effect of the Heart Bomb stunning. So if you hit it again, it will go off and stun. So Heart Bomb is a very good ability. Sometimes it'll take a little bit for you to get used to hitting it, but that is his main damaging ability. So you always want to Heart Bomb and follow up with additional auto attacks to hopefully get them low enough that it ends in a kill. As for Cupid's second ability, it is called Share the Love, and Cupid places 3 floating hearts at his ground target location that heal himself or other allied gods when picked up. Cupid regenerates mana for each heart that is picked up by an ally. This is a great ability to use when you are low health, when your team is low health, and if you are low mana and need to get some more, especially in duo lane. This is super helpful when you are in lane with your guardian. And this is what the ability looks like. You can place the hearts wherever you want, and they can go pretty far. But it just drops down 3 hearts, and you can go pick up all 3 of these, and they will give you some extra health. So super nice to have, especially when you're low, and for your teammates if you don't have any kind of healing on your team. And when a teammate picks one up, you can see that you regenerate mana as well. Cupid's third ability is called Flutter, and it also has a passive with this, and the passive for that is Cupid gains increased attack speed as you level this up, and the active effect is Cupid flutters forward quickly, leaving a trail behind him that increases all allies' movement speed. And that attack speed ranges from 4 to 20%, and the movement speed your allies get is 30%. So this is going to be Cupid's main escape, and it can also help your team escape as well. If you guys are trying to get out of a certain situation, they can follow your tracks and gain that increased movement speed. It is a really good dash because it is instant and it travels very far, so it can get you into good positions for team fights or get you out of certain situations. And leveling this up is pretty important so that you get that attack speed increase. And as for Cupid's ultimate, it is called Fields of Love. Cupid fires arrows of love at his ground target location, slowing enemies in the area and crippling them, preventing movement abilities. The arrows grow and explode, dealing damage and mesmerizing enemies. Any damage done breaks the mesmerize effect. If Cupid has max heart stacks, the mesmerize duration is doubled. In my opinion, this makes Cupid really good. Look at how big the ultimate is. You can get so many of the enemy team in this ultimate, and it's really hard to play around in certain areas of the map. Also, that it has a crippling effect is pretty neat, because then the enemy team won't be able to use their escape abilities to get out of it. They pretty much would either have to use relics like sprint or beads, or they would have to use their own crowd control ultimates or abilities to get out of this. And this is what his ultimate looks like. It also has a delay just like his one, but at the end they are mesmerized and can't move. The only thing that will break that is, of course, you or your allies doing damage to an enemy. So if you want to just pick out a certain target and all focus that, you can do that and leave all the other enemies mesmerized while you're killing one target. The bad thing about this ultimate is that the mez can be ended early, so just be careful and try and coordinate with your team that way. Of course, this isn't always possible when you have teammates that you aren't talking to. And with a full passive meter of the 8 hearts, the mez effect is doubled, as you can see here. So it lasts for a very, very long time. So it can be really good if you're trying to escape, or like I said earlier, with trying to pick off a couple targets and leave the rest of the team mesmerized. Cupid has basically one of the easiest combos in the game, since he only has 2 damaging abilities, and his other 2 abilities just kind of help him sustain and get out and get in of fights. As for leveling Cupid's abilities, this is the typical level path I go, and of course this can always change throughout the game if you prefer a different way. And of course this isn't always the case, but this is generally how you want to level him up. Level 1, especially in Conquest, of course you want to get your main lane clearing ability with Heart Bomb. Level 2 is important to get Flutter second in case you get ganked by an enemy jungler, just so that you can have an escape, or if you are in trouble in dual lane. Level 3, I always pick up his second ability just to give me and my support some extra healing, and if I'm low on mana, my support can just pick up the hearts and give me mana for picking those up. And back to level 4, we get the Heart Bomb, and 5, we get his ultimate. So you do want to prioritize leveling up his 1 first, get his ultimate after that, and after his ult, prioritize his Flutter and then Share the Love. I prioritize Flutter over Share the Love because it increases his attack speed, and I kind of find more value over that than some increased healing. But if you are having difficulties staying alive and healthy in lane, feel free to max the Share to Love, and that works as well. And this is the completed leveling up from level 1 to 20. So if you want to take this and put it in your own God Builder, feel free to pause and put this in for yourself. So only combos you should really worry about are his ultimate and his 1. Hitting your Heart Bomb on them while they are also in your ultimate will do a lot of burst damage to them. You do want to make sure to get that Heart Bomb on them, so if you're worried about missing your Heart Bomb, just wait for the mez to go off, and then they are mezzed and you can have a free shot at them with your Heart Bomb. Another combo I like to do a lot is if I'm chasing after somebody, I can just 3 at them and then instantly hit them with my Heart Bomb and follow up with auto attacks. This can be a really good chasing tool to help you get kills. And of course, whenever you're low, feel free to pick up your own hearts. One of his last combos that you can do for chasing a kill is 3ing into them, hitting them with the Heart Bomb, and following up with the ultimate, and they will most likely be dead from that. So those are all of Cupid's combos. And as for some Cupid counters, any god that has a good CC immunity or CC immunity built into their ultimate can counter Cupid. Just for example, like Medusa and Artemis, they can just ult him right back and get out of his ultimate. A relic that really counters Cupid is beads and sprint. If you beads it, you will just walk right out of the ultimate and not get mezzed or anything. You can still get damaged if you don't make it out of his ultimate in time. And sprint is just a big wide AoE relic that the enemy can pop on themselves to get themselves and their teammates out of Cupid's ultimate. And there are actually some gods that work really well with Cupid. Any gods that have big AoE type ultimates that can sort of trap people and bring them closer to you, that you can just put Fields of Love over everybody. Some examples are like Odin with Odin Cage, Ares with bringing everyone closer to him, and even stacking big circle ultimates on top of each other. Like after you Fields of Love everybody, a Poseidon on your team can crack in them. Just kind of big setup tools like that really work well with Cupid, and it might be a good idea to put those gods around Cupid to have a really big team fight presence. Alright guys, and now for the build. I'm gonna specifically be talking about Conquest, but this build will typically work really great for you in all the other game modes as well. I always go Hunter's Blessing on Cupid no matter what, even if I'm playing him in the mid lane. I just think it is really beneficial to him since it gives you some basic attack damage and some MP5. I just think it really complements Cupid well and is the best starter item in general for him. As for boots, you always typically want to go either Ninja Tabby or Warrior Tabby. It depends on if you want to really go into the pen build. I would then recommend Warrior Tabby. Since he does get some attack speed from his third ability, it wouldn't be too awful to go Warrior Tabby just for that extra physical power. On the other hand, Ninja Tabby, it can be really good. You do get less power. They both provide mana, but this gives you 25% additional attack speed, which can be really good. Cupid, you're basically going to be using your heart bomb and your basic attacks to kill enemies. So the more basic attacks you can put out, the better. So I would recommend either of these two. I kind of go in between both of these. So if you really like the attack speed, I would recommend Ninja Tabby. As for a stacking item, super strongly recommend Transcendence. It is so good on him, and Cupid has one of the highest scaling in the game. So the more physical power you have, the better. And Transcendence gives you a ton of power after you stack it, and 300 mana as well as MP5. And once you stack it, you also get some cooldown reduction. So I think Transcendence is pretty much a staple on him. As for the third ability, since Executioner has gotten nerfed recently, I would recommend Atalanta's Bow. I think it is super good now. It used to never be picked up. Gives you some physical power, some attack speed, and 20% physical penetration, and gives you the awesome passive of killing an enemy or getting an assist on an enemy kill. Gives you agility for 10 seconds. This is basically like a lessened version of Hasten Fatalis, which was taken out of the game, but it increases your attack speed by 20% and it decreases your movement penalty for attacking and backpedaling and strafing for 40 seconds. This is a great passive if you want to, after killing an enemy god, to keep on them and to keep that momentum going in a way. And I love going the pen route on Cupid, and typically you would want to go in this physical power and penetration tree for the maces. If they do have healing, kind of like a Chang'e, Hel, Aphrodite, any god that has self-healing that's can be obnoxious, maybe like Vimana, something like that, I would recommend picking up Brawler's Speed Stick. It gives you some nice physical power and pen. And after gods get hit with your abilities, well, typically your heart bomb or your ultimate, you will have the passive applied on them, which reduces healing. Alright guys, and really quickly before I go over Crusher, it is important to realize that if you do build Crusher on Cupid, it will cancel the Mesmerize effect early for people you ult because of that additional damage over time for those 2 seconds. So quick PSA, if you really value the Mez effect on your ultimate, do not pick up Crusher. I do like it on him though, sometimes just because of the attack speed, the pen, and the damage over time on his heart bomb. It does a lot of damage. So just a quick PSA about that, just to show this off really quickly for you. If we ult these guys, then they wake up a little early because of that tick effect. So take that into consideration, and instead of building Crusher, feel free to get Brawler's Beatstick or even Titan's Bane if you want your abilities to do a lot more damage, and even going into some of the other options I suggested, kind of like Aussie, Heartseeker, and stuff like that. If you aren't too worried about their healing, I would definitely recommend picking up Crusher. Gives you 20% attack speed, physical power, and 15 physical penetration. And the passive on this is enemies hit by your damaging abilities take an additional 20% damage plus 15% of your physical power over 2 seconds. So if you're already building into physical power, I would just totally recommend picking this up because of the passive, and the attack speed is a nice bonus as well. Third option I would recommend is getting Kin Size. If you do want some lifesteal, you are totally fine with picking up Aussie. That is a second great option. But if you aren't worried about lifesteal and want to just pick up your hearts to get health back, I would recommend Kin Size. If they have tons of tanks and a heavy frontline presence, this is a great item that gives you more attack speed and power. And the passive on this is basic attack. Once your basic attack hits, you deal physical damage equal to 3% of the target's maximum health. If the target has over 2,000 health, the bonus damage scales up, and this effect reaches a maximum of 5% of the target's maximum health. So basically, the more health they have, the more you're going to be doing to them, and this is really good if you're just against some obnoxious guardians or warriors that are trying to come at you. The Kin Size is a great item. Once it's late game and you have enough gold to get your last item, sell your Hunter's Blessing. And another one of my really favorite items on Hunters, especially kind of going the pen route, is Odysseus's Bow. And this just gives you straight up attack speed, and what I love about it so much is the passive, and every 4th basic attack triggers a Train Lightning effect, which damages and targets up to 4 nearby allies for 15 damage plus your total basic attack power. So if you build this, you will have tons of basic attack power and pen, and in team fights, this is such a great way to just spread out the damage onto everyone else, even though you aren't hitting them necessarily. And the 2 relics I recommend always are Aegis and Beads, just to get you out of certain situations and keep you alive longer. And going out to try this build, you can see the effect that Oboe does and all the extra damage numbers on the Odins. So you can see how fast his attack speed can get up to. And with this build, once you get Odysseus's Bow, you are going to be capping out the attack speed just because of the additional attack speed you're getting with his 3rd ability. So keep that in mind, and that is typically kind of why Ninja Tabby can sometimes not be the best, just for capping out that attack speed. So even if you switch this, you're still going to be capped, but you will have that additional 40% physical power, and you can also sell your boots with it not even affecting your attack speed, and getting a speed pot. And as for a last item, you're more than welcome to get any kind of defense item if you're having trouble, kind of like Magi's or Mantle of Discord. But a great last item option is Bloodforge. Has a crap ton of physical power and gives you that lifesteal, so if you're trying to get objectives, you won't be too low. So you can have this lifesteal in addition to your hearts and you'll be good to go. And the passive for this is killing an enemy god forges a shield from their blood with health equal to 200 plus 10 per player level for 20 seconds. While the blood shield is active, you gain 10% movement speed. This is also a great, in a way, offense defense sort of thing. Once you get a kill, you get this extra health shield to keep going in and trying to get even more kills towards the enemy team.
This might be too big for me.
So with stats like that, you are getting a lot of physical power and attack speed. Penetration is sort of on the lower side, so if you did want to get more penetration, you can build towards that. Like if you didn't want Odysseus bow, you could also go for things like Heartseeker, which will do a lot of damage on your heart bombs, and even adding some extra power with Brawler's Beatstick that has some physical pen. So just sort of your preference. But of course, I do like that extra passive for Odysseus bow. And going to test this build on a Neathbot. Your autos do a ton of damage, and they basically can kill the god before the heart bomb does any damage. And if we just do the heart bomb on her, does a good chunk of damage, and you can follow that up with some additional autos, and they are toast. And just with the ultimate combo showing you, he can really burst people down pretty quick. Another option, if you don't want to build him pen, you can go the crit build. And in the crit build, I think I would recommend Ninja Tabby, just since you are building a little bit less of attack speed items. The crit build usually always Devourer's Gauntlets are pretty good, since they just give you some power and physical lifesteal. Typically, this is kind of like the best lifesteal option in a way. For third, I'm basically treating Atalanta's like the new Executioner, since it was nerfed so hard. Third, of course, getting Atalanta's, and then going into crit. I would recommend going into Rage as the first crit item, because you need to stack it 5 times in order to get the full passive and crit chance. And a new item they have introduced is Shadow Steel Shuriken. If enemies are hit by your crits, they get 40% reduced healing. So if they have any healing gods or healing in their kit, feel free to pick this up. This is a nice option for crit builds. Next, I think Fail Not is pretty good on Cupid. It has some awesome stats. Cooldown is really good on Cupid, and it gives you 20%. And it gives you some pen as well. And if you didn't know what this does, when your ultimate ability has finished casting, your next ability or basic attack within 8 seconds of that damages an enemy god and marks them, increasing the chance that you and your allies can land critical strike chances on them for 10 more seconds. So this is a way to even make your assassin and mage crit as well, even though they can't crit or didn't even build any crit. So having Fail Not applied on them is super easy, since you're following up with basics and abilities after your ultimate. Final item I would recommend in the crit build is Deathbringer. For the passive, critical strike bonus damage dealt is increased by 30%. This one you have a little bit less attack speed, but even, 2.0 attack speed is pretty good. Even if you wanted to pick up like a Wind Demon to get more attack speed, then that is great too. And then just showcasing the crit build, you can also get Transcendence in the crit build also, just no lifesteal, and you would have to rely on your heart bombs. But just showcasing that, couple autos and Neath is dead, even following up with a heart bomb. So Cupid can do some pretty decent crit damage. I'm just showing off Fail Not. And that is the crit build. And that is going to be it for the Cupid guide. I really hope that this has helped you. I really wanted to do this for Cupid since he got buffed, and he is actually getting some more SPL play. So hopefully we're going to be seeing a little bit more Cupid players out there. Let me know if you want me to do a god guide on a different god. I'd be more than happy to do one for you. And as always, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.